So here's the question no one in Washington seems eager to answer. Why are the Epstein files still locked away after years of promises to release them? Every time the issue surfaces, there's another excuse, another delay, another reversal. And the most recent congressional hearing peeled back layers of contradictions that left the public stunned. This wasn't just about immigration policy or security. It was about power, secrecy, and the suspicion that some of the most powerful figures in the country are fighting to keep their names out of the spotlight. The former president's ties to Epstein have long been documented. He boarded the private plane, attended the parties, spoke highly of him in public. None of that is speculation. It's on record, and now reporters claim his name is included in the sealed files.
Great, because there are many, many things that Congress should be conducting oversight over this administration. Donald Trump campaigned on finding convicted criminals who are unlawfully here in this country and deporting them. The worst of the worst, he said. Instead, he and his unidentified masked secret ICE agents are snatching and arresting immigrants from court proceedings, nonviolent, non-criminal immigrants pursuing legal pathways to immigrate to this country, and then illegally detaining them in horrific conditions, and even possibly deporting them despite the fact that they are here legally. You would think the committee with jurisdiction over the Department of Homeland Security would want to conduct oversight over the department's refusal to allow members of Congress to observe the conditions of DHS detention facilities. In fact, there is a specific statute that authorizes both Republicans and Democrats to conduct oversight over facilities that house or detain immigrants. But no, the department refuses. So we're here in the Homeland Security Committee, and I'm sure the Republican majority does not like it when this administration undermines its own authority, its own statutory authority, to conduct oversight. But no, instead of all of that, we are here talking yet again about Joe Biden. Newsflash, Joe Biden is not the president. He hasn't been the president for 7 months. So if we are going to conduct oversight here, why are we doing it about the Biden administration when this administration is literally detaining lawful permanent residents and even some U.S. citizens? And it gets worse. It's not just those masked ICE agents. There are many FBI agents who are being called away from their duties to investigate terrorism, violent gangs, child trafficking, and other crimes in order to help ICE arrest and detain immigrants with legal asylum claims, nonviolent. That makes our homeland less safe, not more safe. So we should hear from FBI Director Kash Patel about how many of his criminal investigators are being taken away from their criminal investigatory jobs, keeping Americans safe in order to help round up non-criminal immigrants trying to immigrate the right way. Some of these detainees are being held in Bureau of Prisons detention centers that are unfit for convicted criminals to stay in. We should hear from Pam Bondi about how much of the department's resources are being used to detain these nonviolent, non-criminal immigration detainees. And while they're here, we can ask them about a very pressing question. What's going on with the Epstein files? Donald Trump promised to release them. Pam Bondi said she had the files on her desk and that she was going to release them in the name of transparency. Kash Patel has spent years railing against the FBI to release the files. Many of my Republican colleagues were banging on the table to release the Epstein files. But now, all of a sudden, after a months-long review, Bondi and Patel say nothing to see here, no evidence that any American would want to see about accomplices, co-conspirators, or other people involved. Yesterday, the Republicans voted against releasing the files. So what's changed? Well, we all know Donald Trump has had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He flew on his plane, he hung out in parties, spoke highly of him. And now there are many people saying that Donald Trump is included in the Epstein files. In fact, there are reporters who say that there are videos of him with topless women. Elon Musk even confirmed that Trump is blocking the release of these files because he's in them. Pam Bondi says there's nothing there, but Donald Trump even acknowledges that there is evidence there. It's just not credible. It's made up. This is a Truth Social post from 9:43 this morning. It is an admission that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and the American people deserve to know whether he is or not.
Mr. Garbarino,
Mr. Chairman, I would, pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11.
Gentleman is not recognized. Your time has expired.
I have a motion.
Mr. Garbarino,
Mr. Chairman.
recognized for questioning.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Thank you, Mr.
The gentleman has a motion.
Pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11, I move that the committee subpoena Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States, and Cash Patel, the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Mr. Chairman, motion to table.
Gentleman has a motion.
Motion to table.
Motion to table is privileged and non-debatable.
Others go even further, saying there are videos, grainy but unmistakable, showing him at Epstein's gatherings surrounded by topless women. Whether those rumors are real or exaggerated, they fuel a fire that refuses to die down. Elon Musk even hinted that the former president himself is personally blocking the release of the files because he appears in them. Pam Bondi has stepped in claiming there's nothing there, yet the former president's own online post at 9:43 in the morning dismissed the evidence as made up. That kind of statement to many sounds less like denial and more like an admission. It wasn't always this way. Back during the campaign trail, the same man promised transparency like the country had never seen before. He said the Epstein files would be released to the public. Pam Bondi backed him up, bragging that the files were sitting right on her desk and would be exposed for everyone to see. Cash Patel launched blistering attacks against the FBI, accusing them of hiding the truth and denying the American people the right to know. Their voices were fiery, their demands unwavering, but after months of a so-called review, the tone shifted. Suddenly there was nothing in those documents worth revealing. Patel and Bondi, who once shouted for disclosure, now claimed there was simply nothing there. The shift was as abrupt as it was suspicious. The hearing itself highlighted more than just this reversal. It showed the contradictions running through the administration's immigration policies. The former president campaigned on removing the worst of the worst, promising to deport violent criminals who had entered the country unlawfully. But testimony revealed that in practice, masked ICE agents were pulling non-violent immigrants from courtrooms, targeting those with legal asylum claims, even families who were attempting to navigate the system through the right channels. People who posed no threat, who had committed no crimes, were suddenly detained and locked away. And the conditions they were held in, witnesses described them as horrific, so deplorable that some facilities were said to be unfit even for hardened criminals. Yet this became the reality for men and women who thought they were following the law. By statute, Congress has the power to oversee those facilities. It's not optional. Both Democrats and Republicans have the right to inspect them. But during this period, the Department of Homeland Security slammed the doors shut. They refused entry, defying the law and leaving lawmakers blind to what was happening inside. Oversight wasn't just weakened, it was outright blocked. Then came another revelation. FBI agents who should have been chasing terrorists, infiltrating gangs, and dismantling trafficking networks were instead pulled off their assignments. Instead of investigating child exploitation or threats to national security, they were ordered to assist ICE in rounding up nonviolent immigrants. Imagine that for a moment, agents trained to protect Americans from real danger diverted to chase people whose only crime was trying to build a legal life in this country. Critics warned this made the nation less safe, not more, and yet the administration called it success. But all of that paled in comparison to the bombshell at the heart of the hearing, the Epstein files. At first, Republicans were the loudest voices demanding release. They hammered the table, they called out the FBI, they promised the truth would come out. Patel and Bondi led the charge, vowing to shine a light on the darkest corners. And then, just like that, it all stopped. After a months-long review, the narrative flipped. Republicans who once shouted about transparency voted against releasing the files. The same figures who had promised disclosure now insisted there was nothing worth seeing. That kind of reversal doesn't just raise eyebrows, it raises alarms. The moment that drew the most attention, however, came from the ex-commander-in-chief himself. In his online post, he dismissed the evidence as not credible and made up. But by saying that he admitted it exists, he didn't deny there were files. He didn't deny his name might appear. He didn't even deny the reports of videos. He simply called it fake. To many, that wasn't a denial at all. It was deflection. And deflection often hides a deeper truth. Meanwhile, the congressional hearing itself unraveled into pure theater. Instead of focusing on detention abuses, FBI diversions, or the possibility of a cover-up, the Republican majority shifted attention back onto Biden, even though he wasn't even in office at the time these actions occurred. It was a deliberate attempt to change the subject, to point fingers elsewhere while ignoring the questions right in front of them. And when the discussion grew too uncomfortable, they used procedure to shut it down. A motion to table, no debate allowed, no questions answered. Oversight cut short in an instant. What the public saw wasn't oversight, it was deflection, obstruction, and a refusal to confront the uncomfortable. And the consequences stretch far beyond this one case. Because this isn't just about one man or one party. It's about whether accountability still exists in American politics. If the Epstein files contain names of the powerful, names too damaging to reveal, then the silence isn't just scandalous, it's systemic. It means the justice system shields elites while punishing the powerless. It means transparency is just a slogan, not a reality. And it means the American people are left in the dark about who knew Epstein, who enabled him, and who might have been complicit. The hearing exposed more than policy missteps. It exposed the erosion of democratic norms. The law says Congress must be allowed into detention centers, yet DHS ignored it. The public was promised the truth about Epstein, yet leaders reversed themselves. FBI resources meant to protect children and fight terrorism were diverted to chase political targets. And when pressed for answers, lawmakers turned the entire hearing into a sideshow about Biden, who wasn't even relevant to the events under scrutiny. It was performance politics at its worst, a display of power used not to hold government accountable, but to shield allies and bury uncomfortable truths. And here's the bigger picture. The Epstein files were supposed to symbolize transparency, a bipartisan moment when both sides agreed the public had a right to know. Instead, it turned into a bipartisan betrayal. Republicans once eager to expose the truth now protect it. Democrats unable to break through the wall of obstruction watch from the sidelines. The result is a silence that benefits only the most powerful. For everyday Americans, it sends a chilling message. If the names in those files really do include the former president or other elites, then the system isn't designed to serve justice at all. It's designed to preserve power. If resources can be diverted from protecting children to chasing nonviolent immigrants, then safety isn't the priority, politics is. If laws requiring oversight can be ignored without consequence, then oversight is meaningless. And if promises to reveal the truth can be reversed overnight, then words mean nothing. This scandal isn't just about Epstein, it's about what happens when government decides the truth is too dangerous for the public to know. It's about what happens when transparency becomes a bargaining chip instead of a principle. It's about whether Americans are willing to accept secrecy as the new normal. The former president once promised to drain the swamp, to shine a light on corruption, to tell the people the truth. But when it comes to Epstein, the swamp has only gotten deeper. Bondi once said the files were on her desk. Patel once demanded their release. Republicans once thundered for transparency. Today all those voices are quiet, and that silence may be louder than any confession. So now the question falls to you. Do you believe Pam Bondi when she insists there's nothing to see? Do you believe the files contain nothing of value? Or is this just another calculated cover-up, another desperate attempt to protect the elite from exposure? Should Congress release the Epstein files no matter who's implicated, no matter how high the names go, no matter how explosive the fallout? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Because if this hearing proved anything, it's that the truth won't come from the politicians. It will only come when the people demand it.